Hello again, Year 7. So last lesson we looked at night and day and explained why we have night and day. And this lesson we are going to talk about the year and the seasons. And we're going to explain what happens to the Earth during a year, including why we have 4 seasons. So let's move on and have a look at that. First of all, nice easy question to warm us up. Can you name the 4 seasons? Okay, so what are the 4 seasons that we have? Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have got spring, summer, autumn and winter. Okay, and they're really lovely actually to have these 4 seasons because everything's so different and it makes our lives really interesting. But they're also really useful. Okay, and we're going to have a look now about how they're useful to farmers. So if I just pause this a second. Here we go. So why seasons are useful to farmers.
I grow white maize, white sweet corn, pumpkins, squash, and some exotic vegetables. My name is David Mwanaka. I'm a farmer. Seasons mean everything to farmers. If you do plant your crops a bit late, they won't mature. If it's too early, then you risk either frost or they actually won't germinate. We plant our crops in spring because the soil will be a bit warm, and then go to summer, so the crops are encouraged to grow. End of October, beginning of November, everything is ready. I really enjoyed eating white maize when I was in Zimbabwe, but then it wasn't available in the UK, so I thought I could as well start growing it. Farming in the UK is a lot more technical than farming in Zimbabwe or in most developing countries. The climate in this country is cold, and maize is a tropical crop, so you need a lot of heat to grow maize in this country. Plastic fleece does increase the temperature by 2-3 degrees and encouraging the crops to grow a bit faster. Farming is all about science. You need to know when to grow your crops, which fertilizers to use. Even the seasons is part of science. All farmers have got a passion for farming, so you're basically doing something that you enjoy doing, that you love.
So farmers need to know all about seasons. In spring, they plant their seeds, and they do that because that's when it's getting warmer. And then all through the summer, the plants grow because of all the sunshine. And then in August, not in August, in autumn, that's when the harvest is made. And then through the winter, very little grows. And this is all to do with the amount of sunshine and the amount of warmth. And that is all to do with the relationship between the earth and the sun. Okay, so remember last lesson we spoke about how the Earth spins on its axis. Okay, so if we look at the Earth here, and this is the axis, the imaginary line that goes from the North Pole to the South Pole, the Earth is spinning on that all the time. And the time it takes for the Earth to spin on its axis, remember, is 1 day. But while the Earth is spinning on its axis, it's also moving around the sun. So it's spinning every day, but it's moving around the sun as well. And the time it takes for the Earth to pass around the sun once is 365.25 days. Okay, and that's 1 year. We have 365 days in a year. Ooh. What about this quarter here? This quarter is why we have a leap year. Because every 4 years we gain a day. So if we didn't take that into account, what would happen is over hundreds of years, March would stop being where it is when it's sort of like quite cold and just beginning into spring, and it would move and probably end up in the middle of the summer and we wouldn't know where we were. So every 4 years we take an extra day in the year, and that's to take into account the fact that it takes us 365.25 days to pass round the sun once. Okay, so the seasons. Let's have a think about that. What causes the seasons? So why do we have 4 seasons? Okay, we have 4 seasons because of this weird little tilt. So here's our axis, our imaginary line, and if you look, it's not straight up and down. It's on an angle like this, and this is how, weirdly enough, this is how the Earth sits in the solar system. It's on a slight angle. Okay, and because of that angle of 23.5 degrees, That's why we have seasons. So we're going to watch a couple of little video clips. I'm going to watch them with you here. The first one is all about the seasons and something called the equinox, which happens in the spring and in the autumn when you have 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of dark. And then the second video explains how this tilt results in that 12 hours daylight and 12 hours dark at the equinox, and why at other times our days get longer or our days get shorter depending on whether we are in summer or winter.
We start our circumnavigation of the sun at a very special place and on a very special day. It's March the 20th, the spring equinox. This is the Great Pyramid in Chichen Itza, an ancient Mayan city in Mexico. Built 1500 years ago, the city is one of the world's great archaeological sites, and it contains a remarkable insight into our journey through space. The ancient Maya had developed a deep understanding of the Earth's movement around the sun, and they built it into the very fabric of this city. But it's something that can only be seen at two very precise and magical times of the year. One of those is today, March the 20th. As afternoon approaches, the city fills with followers of Mayan beliefs, and those curious to see an ancient wonder. There is a unique and particular feature of our planet as it orbits the sun, and it's encoded in the way that light and stone interact at the Great Pyramid. This is the moment that all these thousands of people have been waiting for. They've all stood up, and there are hands raised to welcome in the sun, and it's now aligned perfectly on the edge of the steps here, creating this very specific pattern of light and shade, which resembles the body of a snake. And that's no coincidence, because it joins up with the carved snake's head at the bottom of the pyramid. The Maya believed the snake, known as Kukulkan, was a messenger between gods and man. This is a remarkable display of Mayan architectural design. The appearance of this snake isn't an accident. They absolutely planned it, and it happens on the same day every year. This is the spring equinox. So more than 1,000 years ago, the Maya recognized the equinox as a pivotal moment in the year.
Here on Earth, there are a few moments that we all share because we're all on the same journey around the sun. And one of those moments is the equinox, when day and night are equal. It's a time of balance we can all experience, wherever we are on the planet. So whether you're here in Britain, amongst the fitful showers and overcast skies, or in the bright sunshine of Mexico, on the March equinox, you'll get 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night time. That's if the sun ever comes through the clouds.
Okay, so that video was quite interesting, and it introduced the idea of the equinox, and that was a really, really cool thing that the Mayans did with the snake, wasn't it? But, why does it happen? Why does the length of our days change through the year? And let's have a look at this video and let's have a look at this video and it explains it.
The Earth spins on its axis every day and takes a year to travel around the Sun. The UK is in the top half of the Earth in the Northern Hemisphere. In winter, the Northern Hemisphere is tilted away from the Sun. The Earth spins on its axis once every 24 hours. There are a few hours of daylight and the dark nights are long. Seasons change as the Earth continues its journey around the Sun. In summer, the Northern Hemisphere is tilted towards the Sun. In the UK, it is light from early in the morning until late in the evening. The nights are short, summer is here. Axis every day and takes a year to travel.
Right, so I want to just focus on this bit here. Now I'm going to make her be quiet and then we're going to talk through it together. Okay, so this is what we're looking at, and what I want you to look out for are a couple of things. Look at the tilt here, okay, and see sort of how the countries at the top of the world, that's not the technical term for it, but the countries at the top of the world spend an awful lot more time in the dark than the countries down here. Okay, and you can see that when you look out for the UK, and the UK is going to be red when it comes round. So when she zooms in, we can see that. Okay, so watch now. This is where the UK is, and you can see here it is. And look, we're in the dark, 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 we're back in the daylight. And that's our winter. We spend so much time in the dark because of this tilt, because this means that in the winter we're tilted away from the sun. So we spend much more of our day on this side of the earth where there's no sun. Then look out for the equinoxes, which are going to happen here in March and September. Or is it October? I think it's March and October. Okay. So the earth is going to move. Equinox, 12 and 12, 12 hours of dark, 12 hours of daylight. And then when we zoom in again, that you're looking for the UK, which is here. And again, we're right at the top here, at the top of the world. But because of the tilt now, a lot more of the top of the world is facing into the sunshine. You can see we've got all that extra time of sun. And what that does is that gives us our long days in the summer. So as we spin round, look at all that time that we spend in daylight until we end up in the dark again. And that's kind of about where we are now. Like I said last lesson, we're about 3 days now away from the summer solstice, which is our longest day when we spend most time in the sun. So that's why we have these lovely light nights at the moment. You can sit out in the garden until it's really late, or until somebody makes you go to bed. Okay, so let's pause this. So the reason that we have long days in the summer and short days in the winter is because of the tilt. So in the summer, the north is tilted towards the sun. Okay, so the planet, we're on a tilt, remember, we're tilted toward the sun. So the north half of the planet gets more time in the sunlight, and the further north you are, the more time you get in the sunlight. If you think about it, right on the North Pole, they get 24 hours of sunshine in the summer. 24 hours of sunshine, imagine that. Excuse me. Okay, so that's in the summer. What happens in the winter? Okay, in the winter we're tilted away from the sunshine, so now we don't get so much time in the sunlight, so we have shorter days. And again, if we look at the North Pole now, 24 hours of darkness. They never see the sunshine. Right in the middle of the winter, in the winter solstice, the North Pole doesn't see the sunshine. And it's all because of this 23-degree tilt that the Earth is on. And you can see that in these pictures down here. What does that mean? Well, it means that in Australia, you go to the beach in the summer, you have a barbecue on the beach because it's sunshiny and really warm at Christmas. In Australia, while we're, making snowmen if we're lucky, but usually just getting rained on and really, really cold. Okay, so hopefully you've got an idea of what happens to the Earth in the year and why we have the seasons and why we have long days in the summer and short days in the winter. Off you go to the quiz now, have a go, and I will see you in, I think, next week now. Okay, but I won't see you, I'll speak to you next week. Okay, bye guys.